Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. In the last route we put a stop to Ursula's plans over in Atlantica, and now it's time for us to once again do some side quests between worlds. We're starting off by doing the next chunk of Hundred Acre Wood because we got a torn page back in Ariel's grotto. Time for another one of my favorite Winnie the Pooh characters. This here's my bouncing spot. We can bounce around here all day. Nothing beats bouncing. You want to bounce too, Sora? It's lots of fun. Okay, why not? To bounce with the finest, you'll need some pointers from the finest. But Owl, you don't bounce around like we do. I'm afraid you're right. I can't master everything, I suppose. Bounce this way, please. Never been able to do a good Tigger impression either. I don't know why. Just something about that specific kind of gravel I can't hit too well easily. Time for probably the two hardest parts of 100 Acre Wood, honestly. Tigger bounce. Watch Tigger's bouncing pattern, then follow his lead. Here's a little warm-up. So, the bounce here is just a pattern memorization game. Memorize which stumps Tigger jumps on in which order, then do the same to reach where he and Rue are. We're going to do this 3 times in increasing difficulties before we need to actually end the world. With that said, there are some surprisingly tricky jumps here, especially depending on how the camera's feeling, but remember that your Keyblade swings can do well to extend your jump. Now it gets tricky! Now it's distinctly more Scooby-Doo than a certain striped tiger here, isn't it? So, most of these bouncing patterns aren't too hard, though the amount of steps they add can definitely throw people off if they're not so good at actively memorizing which ways to go. It's really the last one of these that's real rough, as the jump they want you to make at one point is deceptively tricky, especially if you actively try to jump it, just like a certain branch back in the Jungle Slider minigame in Deep Jungle. It's actively easier just to walk off and completely ignore jumping. Which jump is that? Well, let's find out. You're doing fantastical! This'll be the last one. So for this one, we're gonna have to rely on Rue and the seesaw to get up to a tree branch high up in this region. Getting up to the tree branch here isn't too bad. It's getting off of it that's the rough thing. For years, I actively tried to time a jump down to that first actual stump from there, but it's actively just much easier to walk off and fall onto that stump because it still counts. This is one of those cases where Kingdom Hearts 1's platforming is largely fine, but there's some weird jumps and camera angles here that really make you feel the clash between this game's platformer roots and the action RPG it ended up becoming, to the point where, again, sometimes it's better that they kind of smooth that out and reduce the importance of that as the series went on. You've gotten mighty good at bouncing, Sora! Right, Rue? Hey, Tigger, I think he's ready for the big one. Well, there's only one way to find out. Tigger's giant pot whacked the nuts back at the pot to shatter it. This is the actual hardest minigame in 100 Acre Wood, if only because there's a surprising amount of precision needed for it. As fruit are shot out of the pot in the center, you need to do an aerial attack to knock them back into the pot. The sooner or higher you hit the fruit, the more points they're worth. In order to 100% complete this world, we need to hit 20 points within 30 seconds. It's tight, and due to that, if there's a minigame here in this world I need to redo to get the score I need, it's pretty much always this one. My advice if you're trying for the top score as soon as possible, if you're getting near the 30-second mark and are too far away in points, just walk off of the tree stump you're standing on. That will cause you to fail the minigame and you can talk to Rue again to try again. Doing that is faster than the alternative, which is completing the minigame over the time required for the high score, so to speak, and then walking out of this area of 100 Acre Wood, then re-entering to try again. For the sake of not wanting to spend forever on this and get this entire area done in one try, I do just get a failing score, so to speak, first, and then come back to get the high score, but that's just more a thing of LP flow rather than me being impatient. And with that done, we can now actively jump into the stump that had the pot onto it to grab, I believe, an AP up in a treasure chest in here. This is one that took me several years to find because I just, for some reason, never thought to check inside of here. Technically speaking, that's the minigame portion of this world completed, and I think you could just theoretically leave at this point, but there's several more items we want to get here, and it's probably the most in-depth portion of 100 Acre Wood at large. We need to take advantage of the tree branches we used during the bouncing minigame, and in order to do that, we actually need to go and talk to Tigger again over here by where Pooh is. That mytho took me years to figure out how to get for some reason. I don't know why I just didn't try that. Let's go try the seesaw. And along the way, you might have noticed already, Piglet's also here in this chunk, so let's go talk to him and see what he says. I wonder what this is. Well, that's a plank of wood. Keep that in mind for later. So the way the seesaw works is that you can choose a bouncing partner. The two of them each send you to a different starting branch here on the upper layer of this portion of 100 Acre Wood, and from here you need to platform around on the tree branches to reach either other treasure chests, or you might notice little round fruit on certain branches. Those are our main goal here in this section, as for each one of those we get, we can turn it into owl at the entrance of the area to get another item. From my memory, though, this is not required to get the 100% reward here in 100 Acre Wood. This is just for the items themselves, which, hey, is more than worth it, especially with the final reward when it comes to doing high-level synthesis stuff later in the game and in end game. Some of these are hidden in surprisingly weird locations, though, as there's some you can see just out of reach, even. But for every one of those, or one that's just out in the open, there's one that's, like, slightly enclosed or off in a pretty obscure corner of the area. I want to say in total there's 5 nuts total, might be 6. But either way, it's also still worth it just to get the treasure chests up here. As for what you can do on the floor, you might notice there's that plank of wood that Piglet is right next to. There is 2 specific trunks, I guess stumps technically, on the floor area of this room that when you step on them, they'll sink into the floor. Those cause water jets to appear elsewhere and raise other parts of the floor, helping you reach 2 specific rare nuts. Those ones are probably overall the simplest to get once you realize the trick there. And due to that, I think once I actively grab all the ones here on the treetops, I do speed up the last little bit of this process just so we're not here for another 2 minutes on top of that. 100 Acre Wood is a very peaceful and calming area, but due to that, it really isn't for everyone, as I've talked about before. And actively, a part of that I've always kind of found cute is that when you're actively in 100 Acre Wood specifically, they change your attack command to the hit command specifically. That does the exact same thing, it's just not as violent sounding. Something about that's always just kind of tickled me a little bit, it's just kind of funny. The rewards you get for giving rare nuts to Owl are in order a power up, a defense up, a mithril shard, an AP up, and an orichalcum. Overall, very worth the time to get all of it. You know, something funny this world reminds me of. I think a lot of us had at least 1 or 2 Disney games we played a lot growing up, adapting one of their movies or TV shows. I think largely Kingdom Hearts, specifically Kingdom Hearts 2 technically, would have been my first one I put a lot of time into. My brother talked a lot about the big famous ones while we were growing up, Aladdin and Lion King especially. But when I was like little, it was either Kingdom Hearts or I think I rented Toy Story 2 on the PlayStation a few times from a local Blockbuster. At least on the console side of things, I do have a Lilo & Stitch game on the GBA that's pretty much just really bad Metal Slug that I had never finished. I think it might have been that the legacy of licensed games was already so spotty between being trash or good but absurdly hard that my brother just knew not to pick them up too often growing up, especially for his little sibling, as big as our age difference already was. Which, to be clear, I've talked about my brother a lot over the years on my various LPs. I don't think I've actively ever stated our actual age difference. My brother is 12 years older than me. And that age gap led to a lot of little eccentricities in our life as siblings, but it also led to my starting gaming tastes being heavily influenced by his. That's where I get Mega Man and Final Fantasy from, that's where I get Zelda from, alongside God knows how many other little things. But more specifically, that meant if we owned a game, it was one he thought was worth owning, and not usually something like an LJN game or a really bad licensed tie-in. And frankly, as different as our tastes are nowadays, I can seldom say that his tastes are bad. Look at all these nuts. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, Owl. We are now pretty much done here, though I do need to actively redo the minigame in order to get the score I need in order to get the end of world reward. This tree doesn't have honey, I see. Thank you, Pooh. I'm going to ignore you now. I do need to quickly leave and re-enter the area, though, because you can't respawn the pot unless you re-enter the area, which is why it is ultimately faster to fail at the minigame in the case you don't get the score you need. For completing that section of the world, though, your turn page turns into another mithril for late-game synthesis. This is the other reason you need to actively take a little longer if you actively leave and re-enter the area to reset the minigame. You need to go talk to Tigger and Roo again, which requires walking over to the seesaw and watching them jump off of it every time. Again, it is just faster to fail the minigame if you're going to go over it and then restart it from talking to Roo directly rather than walking in and out of the area over and over and over again. When I first played this minigame, I actively thought you got a better score the more shots you hit in a row, but no, it is actively based on how soon you hit them. As you can see right here with this specific fruit where I get a whopping 10 points from hitting it where I did. Doing jumps like that in this minigame, though, often make me paranoid because I'm always afraid I'm going to fall off right at the last second. But thankfully, this time I did not. So now that I've beaten that in under 30 seconds, once I clear the last minigame here in 100 Acre Wood, we will be able to get the 100% reward for this area, so to speak. With that, we're also done in Traverse Town for now as well, so it's time for us to head to our next destination. We're heading back to Olympus Coliseum. With the extra levels I got from Atlantica, I am confident enough to take care of the Pegasus Cup as Sora alone. With that said, we are once again going to be speeding this up, so let's just get on through it and talk about what's going on next. I want to say I maybe had the stats and abilities to take on the time attack mode for this cup at the moment as well, but I wasn't feeling super confident, so I believe I saved it for after the next world, because hey, those few extra levels I can get along the way can go a long distance pretty quickly with how damage gets calculated in this game largely. If there's fights that are really rough as Sora alone here in the Pegasus Cup at this specific level joint though, it's either the barrel spiders as they're more liable to blindside you with their self-destruct move now that you're the only focus. It can be the large bodies of Fat Bandits because gravity works well but only does so well depending on your MP reserves. Or it's Leon and Yuffie because there's just a lot going on in this fight pretty much no matter what, let alone the higher health pools to get through. For completing the Pegasus Cup as Sora alone, your reward is another Orichalcum for your synthesis reserves, at endgame especially. With that, let's now get out of here and get on towards our next world. Getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but worth noting if you're understandably having issues in Atlantica, especially against either form of Ursula, I could easily recommend abandoning that world for now and heading towards our next destination here, as the combat here is technically more dangerous, yes, but because you have access to all your combat abilities, you're probably going to have a smoother time with it, and hey, those extra levels might help you against either form of Ursula. Welcome to Hot Topicsville. It's time for Halloween Town. This sure is a spooky place. I'll bet the people here are scary looking too.
Don't worry, we look spooky too. If they scare us, we'll scare them right back.
You think so? I mean, hey, I do like these designs actively. Halloween Town Goofy is probably one of my favorite Goofy designs, period. I don't know why, I've just always liked that little nose. Well, ominous search ghosts just standing there doing nothing. I guess they've been tamed here? Let's head towards that chimney that was bellowing out smoke a moment ago.
And now, allow me to introduce the Master of Terror, the King of Nightmares, Jack Skellington! Bravo, Jack! Bravo! Those ghosts will be a big hit at this year's Halloween.
Thank you. But their movement still needs work. It's not scary enough. I want to strike bone-chilling terror. I'm going to consult the doctor.
Then I'll go attend to the decorations.
I can never remember if that cutscene starts based on a timer when you first enter this room, or if it's when you get closer to the fence area. Either way, it's really weird that they reset you back towards the entrance in my eyes. Let's head to the lab entryway and go talk to the doctor alongside good old Jack, why don't we?
I don't understand. Maybe the guidance system was damaged in the explosion.
Nonsense. My devices are always perfect.
Oh, I've got it! Why, of course. The heartless need a heart. Doctor, do you think we can add a heart to that device?
Certainly. A heart's not all that complicated. Let's get to work.
To make a heart, first take a container with a lock.
We need the key to this thing first.
You're really gonna unlock it for them?
Why not? If they succeed, we won't have to fight the Heartless, right? Besides, I want to see the Heartless dance too. Don't you?
Not really.
My, that was amazing. And you are...
Sora.
Well done, Sora. I'd like you to be a part of this year's Halloween.
What's this Heartless doing here?
Oh, the Heartless came to town just recently. What's frustrating is I can't get them to dance with me. So, the Doctor and I are trying to improve the guidance system. He's quite a genius. Okay, Doctor, let's continue. The ingredients for a heart. Pulse. Emotion.
Terror?
Fear. Hope and despair. Mix them all together, and we have a heart.
Maybe we're missing some ingredients. Let's try adding memory. Sally? Sally! Good for nothing girl. Don't know why I bothered creating her. Sally's got the memory we need. See if you can track her down.
No problem. Sora, would you like to come along?
Sure.
And with that, we've recruited my favorite Disney World party member, Jack. He's sort of a magic knight in some terms, very high physical and magic attack, and a pretty good magical range, too. I think he has a fire, ice, thunder, and the rare dark elemental attack at his disposal. Also, a torn page is right there on that bookshelf. That one took me forever to find growing up.
Jack! Jack! We have a major crisis! The Heartless are completely out of control! We can't stop them!
Maybe our experiment triggered something. Everything will be fine, Mayor. You have nothing to worry about.
With that cutscene out of the way, worth noting, any Heartless in future rooms will now actively attack you. They're no longer going to be passive like the Search Ghosts were in that first room. The Heartless are completely out of control. The festival will be ruined. Oh no. With that said, largely get this, more Search Ghosts in this world, but there are a couple of other things along the way. With that said, in the meanwhile, let's talk about Jack's voice. Jack is voiced in English by Chris Sarandon, who largely only ever voiced Jack Skellington, but he was also Dracula in the 2012 TMNT show, as well as Kurotowa in the English dub of Nausicaa. He's more famous for roles like Jerry in the original Fright Night, alongside several guest roles in TV and other films over the years. In Japanese, though, Jack Skellington is voiced by Masachika Ichimura, who's largely a stage actor, but also voiced Mewtwo in the early Pokemon movies and OVAs, Red 13 in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, and Bronev in later Professor Layton games. Huh, I did not notice that little hitch there in the footage in recording. Oopsie, that hasn't happened too often, but every now and then my capture card will do that. Thankfully, it picked like the most minor time to do it possible. The Halloween Town Mayor, on the other hand, is voiced in English by Jeff Bennett, who also voiced Prince Eric in the Little Mermaid cartoon, Brooklyn and Gargoyles, Johnny Bravo himself alongside several incidental characters in that show, Okino and Kiki's Delivery Service, Dr. Hamsterville in the later Lilo and Stitch projects, Prowl and Transformers Animated, as well as being Batman and Brave and the Bold alongside hundreds of other roles across his career. In Japanese, the mayor is voiced by Toru Ohira. Prior to his death in 2016, he was the dub-over actor for Darth Vader as a character, Homer Simpson for a good while there as well as voicing Pete in several Mickey Mouse projects starting in the mid-80s. He also narrated several of the early Super Sentai series, stretching from the original Go Ranger all the way to O Ranger. The little secret here I didn't find on my first playthrough. You can come up to this house and pull its little doorbell ringer. If you do that 3 times, the door will open, ejecting an elixir for you. I knew you could pull on the doorbell, I just never tried to do it 3 times in a row for some reason. Again, Kingdom Hearts 1 has several little hidden secrets like that, but as a kid I didn't find them either because I was stupid, or I just didn't try certain things, frankly. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 24 we're going to continue exploring Halloween Town outside the town itself, to hopefully find Sally in the process. See you guys then.